The artist's brain is an independent variable. When brought into the everyday world, their senses find meaning in even the most mundane observations. The reaction must only be told by the artists themselves. I'm Loverboy, and this is an experiment. Today's guest is a multi-talented artist and instrumentalist, born in Germany and eventually making his way to Los Angeles and Hawaii. Growing up surrounded by mostly women, he had the opportunity to learn a deeper connection to the human experience. His music inspiration started with long car rides with his dad's music, synced up that surely gave him his ability to explore multiple genres. Please welcome today's guest, Nombe. Welcome. I'm super excited to have you on today because this interview is about the people you surround yourself with and how it affects your art, how it transforms the way you move throughout your life. And you being somebody who started your life in Germany and later on moved over to LA and now Hawaii, you've been around so many cultures. You've been around so many people. Has those cultures and the differing places affected the way that you create your music and the inspiration you get?
Absolutely. I mean, the inspiration question is always funny because I think we don't have that much choice over what inspires us. I think like life kind of informs what we talk about. And so like if I'm going through a breakup, I'm not going to step outside and be like, well, like, let me find inspiration in the sunset. It's like, I'm going through this no matter what I decide. You know, life informs everything. The people you meet, the things you choose to listen to and whatnot. But I think musically, like, yeah, of course, like I have a, sort of eclectic kind of upbringing. You know, my dad's German. He was a drummer, you know, he was a funk drummer and listened to a lot of like Earth, Wind and a lot of Bee Gees, Isaac Hayes, a lot of great like late 70s, early 80s stuff, Fleetwood Mac and Dire Straits. But he also like loved house music. He loved hip hop and he was from Germany. He is from Germany. And so like there's that. And then there's, you know, the culture of like 90s Germany, what I grew up in. And this sort of, I don't know, like a mixture of stuff. And then my mom was actually the one who was really into Beatles and Nina Simone. And, there was a lot of good music around all the time. Her dad was a DJ in the 70s, so he had mad records, my grandfather. Everything from soul, disco, DeBarge, Tavares to island music, soca and reggae and stuff. You know, he's from the islands, and so my mom being American, my dad being German, like it all converged. But I personally, like once I was like old enough to decide for myself, you know, I was obsessed with hip hop music and culture. Like I was a b-boy and doing graffiti and hanging out with the other kids and beatboxing and freestyling in the schoolyard. And, you know, I come from a very purist sort of old school hip hop backpack culture that is very strong in Germany, or it was back then. And throughout that, I decided early on, I want to be part of this, you know, I want to be part of this culture and I want to be in music as a creator, as a producer mostly. You know, I didn't think I was like the best rapper. Like my friends at the time, they were all way better. And that started for me like with just producing, you know. Like my heroes were like DJ Primo and who else? Like DJ Primo, Pete Rock, Nujabes, Dilla, and then Flying Lotus later and Madlib and like all these people.
That makes a lot of sense for your music as well. It has a very eclectic hip hop feel, a lot of your music, but definitely feels like hip hop with a bunch of other cultures mixed in, with the funk, with island music, with all these different things that feel so constructive to what you make. You know, the recipe for something that only you have. Has that changed since moving from Los Angeles to Hawaii?
Maybe. I am not sure. I think Hawaii sort of fits a landscape was something that I've been chasing. So I think if anything, I may have subconsciously wanted to move to Hawaii because I was thinking of the next thing, sort of. I remove myself for the process. Usually I remove myself when I make an album. I like to do retreats and go somewhere else, and um, not to necessarily get inspired, but to be focused and have purpose. It's like, I'm here for this. I'm not trying to be in my apartment in like Hollywood where it's like loud and fucking people hit me up and let's get drinks and there's an event and a thing and whatever. Like I'm trying to, because I'm very distracted, like I'm easily distracted. And so like I like to go to a place and be like, this is where this lives. This is where the world lives. But I think I would make sort of the same kind of music anywhere I lived. I don't think that you need a nice or remote nature studio to make some cool psychedelic record. I don't know. I'm figuring out the sound always. I still don't think I've found my sort of sound yet, and probably never will. That's what's exciting about it. There's just too much good music that I love and admire for me to settle for anything.
You almost can't chase the outcome. You got to enjoy the journey and understand that is the whole process.
Yeah. I literally have a tattoo. Whoa, shit! I literally have a tattoo on my arm that says that, like, the journey is the destination, and that's the last thing my grandfather said to me. It was like the most profound shit anyone's ever said to me to that point, because we're all skipping through life, kind of, and like our generation in particular. I feel like a lot of times we try to skip certain steps.
Yeah.
And be like, why can't I be successful? Why can't I do this? Or I want the money. I want the perfect relationship. And meanwhile, so much time goes by. And by the time you get all these things, you realize you weren't enjoying really, really great moments. And all there is moments. That's all there is. And so how you feel about the moment is I think what the life is. It's like, what do you decide what the moment means to you? But the moment's not really going to change, get whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, it's always changing, but I don't know.
It's just how you face it.
I just think about it like if you're 60, 70 years old and you have all the money in the world, you probably trade it to be 20 and broke. 100%.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so don't skip through life,
We end every episode with a little saying that my girlfriend Elle made up, which I think fits exactly what you just said perfectly, which is the experience is the experiment. If you're looking for the outcome of the experiment, you're always going to be searching versus enjoying where you're at and understanding that the process that you are in, that's it. That's the experiment. That's what we're all here for. It's all of those amazing stories you hear from your favorite rock stars. That's not some outcome. That's the process. That's part of it. That all these experiences make up what, once you're long gone, become this beautiful story. But you got to understand that you're in it as we speak. We're all in it. And if you're not enjoying where you're at, then will you ever enjoy where you're at?
Facts. I mean, there's a lot of analogies and philosophers that have been very poignant on that subject, but I think happiness is something that at some point you got to settle into and choose within a margin, of course. Like, we all have moments that we were just going through things and it feels like life is giving us a beating, but that will always sort of come and go. I think happiness is a relationship with yourself and an approach to people and work and passion and
Have you always had this mindset, or is this something that has taken trial and error in order to discover?
I think it definitely took trial and error. I mean, it's the essence of being present, and I think becoming present is easy when you're a child, and then we lose it, and then it becomes hard to get that back because of the rat race.
Yeah,
there's a reason why, like, Eastern philosophy and a lot of philosophy in general puts an emphasis on presence, and it's like the deeply existential kind of thing. Is like, are you here? You know what I mean? And if you're not here, where are you? Because life is happening here. And by here I mean like in this sort of flash or whatever, not
This
just
moment.
Earth, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And like, there's no point in living in 6 months, because in 6 months, you're going to start thinking about the next 6 months. And so life really starts the minute you start being actually present.
Consciousness is a decision. It's something you have to allow yourself to be part of.
Well, I'm not even talking about consciousness. I'm talking about like making the most of your life, you know, making the most of now, and understanding what a moment is, as opposed to the ego mask stuff that you're told to worry about. That actually is an idea in the future. It's a possibility of many that has no meaning if you're not actually committing to the presence. And so it's like this. It's like a lot of our emotion and what we tie our worth and values to is information. When you look at it, it's just information. It's like if you and I are sitting here and somebody tells us that, you know, a disaster just happened and millions of people died, or somebody tells us, hey, guess what? Like your partner or your parent just won the lotto and just won $1 million. Or then they call you and say like, hey, your dog just got hit by a car, or your dog just had puppies. Whatever it is, we're here in this moment, and our emotions, if we tied our emotions to all those things, it would completely be a roller coaster, and our heart rate would go up, and we'd be euphoric, and then we'd be sad, and then this. But the reality is that nothing's changed in terms of our moment. And I know I sound a little nihilistic when I say that, but it's more of it's more the sort of idea of detachment versus nihilism, because nihilism is like, I don't give a fuck about anything because nothing matters. And the reality is that like everything matters so much that how you feel about it doesn't matter. Yeah. And so this detachedness is sort of like there's certain things I cannot control. And for everything I can't control, why would I let it dictate my life and how I feel about life and how I feel about joy? And that's what gets really dangerous with social media and information and our capacity for guilt and pain and euphoria, and how much sexy people can we look at in a day, and how much can we hear in a day that somebody's been murdered, or that there's been a flood, or what our political candidates doing, what are celebrities' opinions. These things have value and arguably have an importance to our day-to-day lives, but it's on us to mediate that, and it should not be on the expense of our long-term sort of happiness and our ability to function. And I'm not against social media. I just think it's a problem when it stops us from functioning. It stops us from being in the real world, or it stops us from being kind. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of the downfall of it.
What would you tell somebody who is in high school or middle school or college and would like to find themselves not even just in your shoes as a musician, but as somebody who's confident with life, confident that life will continue and that it's able to be navigated, to at least understand that life's happening no matter what, and I could either sit back and watch it or I can be part of it?
Yeah, there's a saying that like the like a Hindu saint used to, it's in this book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. Great book if you haven't read it, or I'm sure you look like you read it. Yeah. But you know when it says like don't be of the world, be in it. And so you can be a person that is in tune to the greater consciousness and greater creation, and understand that you have a detachment while still knowing you have a place in it, and knowing that you do have to go to the DMV on Monday because there is a rhythm to life. You know, everything's everything. It's like your approach. Like, what do you think like life also is, and how important is it? What is importance? What does it mean to be conscious and the only race that we know of that can talk and be sarcastic? What does it mean to be on this ball? What does it mean if we weren't here? Like, if the earth became, if the sun, finally imploded and the earth disappeared, what does that mean in the grand scheme of the story of the universe that's like 13.5 billion years old and potentially infinite? You know what I mean? Like, that's my problem with like religion sometimes. It's like, or any sort of ideology is like this idea of importance and ego and purpose, and we're here because we're the star of the show.
Yeah.
But it's like, we don't have to be the star of the show, and we can still enjoy life and be special.
Absolutely.
Even if we're not star of the show.
You're still part of it. And it's all going either way. And if you can find your place in the puzzle, then you can make a really beautiful thing without always being the star.
Yeah. And like, but it's also like emotion, and like, I think we're always at odds, like with our biology and the remnants of our evolution and chemicals and all this stuff, right? That's really archaic, leftovers that we inherited from our caveman selves.
Yeah.
And so like, we get angry as if we're fighting for our life. We get upset. We get jealous over things that are trivial, over things that are not life-threatening. And it's not who we are. It's really not who we are. If we have a chemical imbalance, or we didn't eat that morning and we're grumpy, we're not a grumpy person. We just need protein and calories and whatnot to get our brain functioning. And so this idea of who are you really, that's the big question, right? That's the opposite of the social mask, aka the ego and all this stuff. Yeah. But it's there. We have it. Like, we have it. I have it. I have ego. You know what I mean? Like,
it's part of the human experience.
And absolutely. And so I'm not knocking it. It's here. We have to live with it, you know. But I make a distinction between that and the general reality as it is important to me moving forward.
Nombe, thank you so much for being part of this and for giving people an idea of your experiment, your experience, and how you've gone about it. Your music has been such a massive inspiration for me. Thank you so much, man. And to everybody listening,
I'm Nombe, and this is an experiment.
The experience is the experiment.